During the heart of a brutal war, two souls found a connection in the most unlikely of places: a soldier's foxhole and a young woman's small-town home far away from the front lines. Their love story began with a single letter, penned by Private James Taylor, a man torn from the comforts of his life and thrust into the chaos of battle. He had never expected to fall in love while stationed in a war-torn country, but fate had other plans. Back home in the quiet countryside, Emily Reynolds had always dreamed of adventure, but her world was small. She spent her days helping her family, waiting for her brothers to return from war, and praying for peace. It was through her work at the local post office that she came across James's first letter. Sent to her best friend Margaret's older brother, who had been killed in action, the letter was never meant for Emily, but when she saw the heartbreak in the soldier's words, she couldn't bear to leave it unanswered. She replied with a simple note of condolence, offering her gratitude for his service and sharing her sorrow for the loss of a man they both knew. To her surprise, James wrote back, thanking her for her kindness. His words carried a depth and warmth that caught her off guard. They were strangers, but somehow, through those few letters, they began to feel connected. Weeks turned into months, and the war dragged on. James's letters came sporadically at first, filled with vivid descriptions of his life as a soldier. The bitter cold, the nights under the stars, the camaraderie of his fellow soldiers, and the looming fear of death. But there was something else in his words, something that spoke of a tenderness he reserved only for her. He began to sign his letters, "Yours, James," and each time Emily's heart fluttered. She found herself waiting eagerly for each letter, penning long, heartfelt responses. She told him about her small town, the changes the war had brought, and the dreams she had for a life beyond the war. Emily had never been in love before, not truly, but with each letter she felt herself falling for a man she had never met, a man who risked his life every day, but somehow still made time for her. Their correspondence became the anchor that kept James grounded in the chaos. When the sound of gunfire echoed through the trenches and the world around him seemed to fall apart, he thought of Emily. He imagined her soft voice, her laughter, her words of encouragement. Her letters gave him hope, a reason to survive the horrors of war. As the months passed, their letters grew more intimate. James confessed his feelings, admitting that he thought of her constantly. "I never believed in love at first sight," he wrote, "but it seems I've fallen in love without ever seeing your face." Emily's heart raced when she read his words. She had been too scared to admit it, but she had fallen for him as well. She replied with equal vulnerability, confessing that her feelings had grown stronger with each passing letter. But war is a cruel thing. As the fighting intensified, James's letters became less frequent. Weeks went by without a single word, and Emily feared the worst. She imagined him lying wounded or worse, and every day her heart ached with worry. She continued to write, praying her letters would reach him, but there was no reply. Then, one cold winter's day, a letter arrived, a letter that would change everything. It wasn't from James, but from one of his fellow soldiers. The letter explained that James had been wounded in battle and was recovering in a field hospital. His injuries were severe, but he was alive. Relief flooded Emily's heart, but it was bitter-sweet. The letter also said that James had asked for her, spoken her name even in his feverish state. Determined to be by his side, Emily made the difficult journey to the hospital where James was being treated. The sight of him, lying pale and weak, nearly broke her heart. But when his eyes met hers for the first time, there was an unspoken recognition between them. They had shared so much through their letters that seeing each other in person felt like a reunion of old souls. James reached for her hand, and though his voice was weak, his words were filled with the love they had nurtured through months of correspondence. "Emily," he whispered, "I knew you'd come." Tears filled her eyes as she leaned in closer. "I told you I'd always be with you," she replied, her voice trembling with emotion. In the days that followed, Emily never left his side. She read him their old letters, reminding him of the love they had built, one word at a time. As James slowly regained his strength, their bond only grew stronger. The war continued to rage around them, but in that small hospital room, they found peace in each other. When the war finally ended, James returned home, not to the life he had left behind, but to the future he had dreamed of with Emily. They married in a small ceremony in her hometown, and as they exchanged their vows, they knew their love had been forged in the fire of war, strengthened by distance and uncertainty, and made unbreakable by the letters that had carried their hearts across miles of battlefield. Their love story, written in ink and sealed with hope, became a testament to the power of words and the enduring strength of a love that waited for no man, not even war.